gospel preaching church that is loving, righteous in its lifestyle, involved in world mission and reaching the unsaved in its community by both public and personal evangelistic activity.
Often when people become Christians, they encounter Christ, and it's Christ who wins them, and it's Christ who becomes their preoccupation, it's Christ they're excited about, but often they're not necessarily excited about the church, and the church can even be off-putting. Was that your experience of church in the first place?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I think it's exactly how it was for me. I got saved in my home, actually, and for me to go to church was quite a strange phenomenon. And of course, church was quite different in those days. It was much more formal than it is now. But going to church was quite a feat, you know, actually walking into this place, finding where do you sit, what do you do, and people standing up and sitting down, and, you know, you're gradually getting...
It's like going into a betting shop, and it being this totally different atmosphere. You know, you walk in, you think there's numbers on a screen, I don't know what they mean, you know, people standing here, people queuing here, the whole thing is unfamiliar, and that often people come to the church and that's what they would feel like, I suppose.
Yeah, I think you have to get used to it. You're kind of learning the rules. Yeah. And I think for me, when you come in new, you're the new boy, you don't understand anything. Yeah. And so you just try to learn what's going on there. I think certainly as you go on, and you begin to find your way. And for me, I was so helped by, I used to travel on a train every day for an hour each way. I started reading Christian biography and feeling I identified with guys. And I thought, I see where they're coming from. I see what motivated them. I began to get my own motivations. And then also a guy said to me, come to my home anytime. Well, my parents were not Christian, so I had no background. So going to his home was terrific. I could ask any question I liked. And we used to pray together, which was, again, a new experience. And a small group started in his home, which was, I mean, hugely life-forming for me. And so I began to get my own assessment of things. And I think if I hadn't found that little home fellowship, I'm not sure I'd have been able to keep going. I think... Yeah. Church was too remote, although the pastor was a great preacher and I really enjoyed listening to him. But it was hard to get in the culture, learn the language.
Yeah, and I suppose you were wanting to see that relational authenticity brought into this strange context that you discovered church to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, I really loved my old friends.
Yeah.
And we'd been together for about 5 years when I got saved. And it was fun being with them. It was just fun. Yeah. And I think that's one of my reasons for being so backslidden for the first 5 years, because I couldn't let go of these people who shared my life. Yeah. And church was not like sharing your life with anybody. You went to meeting on Sunday morning. You weren't sharing your life. I got nearly all my friends to church once.
Yeah.
And that was it. They said, how would you put up with this? I got them there once. And then when this guy started his home fellowship, we began to share our lives. And actually, as we went further, it actually went further than anything I'd ever known before. But that was quite a journey. And when we build small groups in our churches now, we're trying to create a context where friendship can form, openness can take place, and all the things that church has to be can only have their outworking in friendliness and intimacy, trust, respect. That's where it works. And for me, I had some of these things with my unsaved friends, and then when I came to church I had formal, I mean, it was the contrast was vast.
So I remember you saying you lost all your friends when you became a Christian, and it was you know, when Jesus talks about a seed falling into the ground and dying, unless it does that, you know, it abides alone, and for you that's what it was like, that you lost community. And that seems ironic, that really the church is supposed to be the best community, and yet your step towards Christ was a step out of community.
Yeah, that's very true. I think that learning what the church should be is a huge deal. And it's been for us a life calling to try and see church what she's meant to be. I think also when the Holy Spirit was poured out, for me, that was another experience. We'll talk about some other time, I'm sure. The Spirit coming, I realized church has got to be flexible, open, ready for the manifestation of the Spirit. So there's a kind of twofold motivation. One, to be relevant to my generation and not obscure and strange, and two, to be genuinely open for God's presence.